2016 Chevrolet Equinox 2. For LAWD, its virtues don't extend beneath the hood, although it was freshened for 2016 updated styling, a couple of new safety features, more infotainment goodies including an onboard Wi-Fi hotspot. The Chevrolet Equinox cruises blithely into the new model year, very much the same small crossover that rolled onto the scene 6 years ago as a 2010 model. This is a very hot market segment right now, chock-a-block with all kinds of attractive offerings. Honda CR-V is America's perennial sport utility bestseller. The Ford Escape, extensively revised for 2017, is hard on its heels, and the Mazda CX-5 remains our favorite in the category. The Equinox doesn't threaten those three, but its sales nevertheless are running well ahead of 2014 and near the front of the field among the 16 or 18 horses in this sturdy and second overall among all Chevrolet vehicles. Can the recent updates elevate our opinion of the Equinox? We borrowed a top-of-the-line 2016 all-wheel drive LTZ to find out. Familiar Powertrain has noted, the 2016 The Equinox is mechanically indistinguishable from its immediate predecessors. It has the same all-wheel drive system, the same 6-speed automatic transmission, and the same base 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine with 182 horsepower and 172 pounds-feet of torque. You might expect this to produce track test results identical to the 4-cylinder Equinox we ran back in August of 2009, but your expectations would be off by a wink or two here and there. The new one is a couple tenths slower to 60 miles per hour and almost 2 seconds slower to 100 miles per hour. Mark that down to a 246-pound weight gain compared with the 2010 Equinox, the vehicle we described as on the hefty side of the segment. Much of that is attributable to our 2016 test examples all-wheel drive. The earlier one was front drive, but content also contributes. We tested a relatively basic lieutenant trim level in 09, while this sample was a loaded LTZ edition. But the two vehicles were identical in a couple of key powertrain traits, neither of them endearing. For one, the shift programming seems to have been conceived for the EPA certification cycle rather than for real life. The electronic brain of the 6-speed transmission tries its best to get into top gear by the end of the driveway. With a rather tall toward peak for 1,900 RPM, this drains the zip from stoplight getaways. The transmission does offer a manual shift option, achieved via a thumb switch atop the shift lever, which is very awkward to operate. We suspect owners will try it once or twice and then dismiss it. We certainly did. Maybe the transmission is so eager to get to the higher gears because it wants to spare the driver the sound of the engine revving. Max power comes on at 6,700 RPM, and hearing this engine strain for peak revs is not at all inspirational. Although the Equinox is exceptionally quiet at freeway cruising speeds, the sound issuing from beneath the hood at wide open throttle is quite coarse. One positive effect of the 4-cylinder's unrefined voice is that it discourages vigorous use of the throttle, which may account for our observed fuel economy result, 21 miles per gallon during the course of this test versus 18 back in 2009, despite all-wheel drive and the additional mass. Competent dynamics. While this powertrain is uninspiring, the Equinox gives a surprisingly good account of itself on rural back roads, as well as on interstates. The chassis is free of quivers, body motions are moderate, transient responses are prompt if not really eager, and ride quality is agreeably firm. We do wish for a little more information from the steering, which is nicely weighted but short on accuracy, provoking little adjustments after the driver has chosen an initial line in a constant radius turn. The fade-free braking performance is slightly below average for this class in terms of distances. It's worth noting, though, that the average can't be called good. Average does apply to the Equinox's lateral grip 0.79 grams and overall it stacks up as competent. Still, let's not confuse competent with engaging. There's nothing about this vehicle that's likely to provoke a Sunday morning excursion for the sheer enjoyment of driving. But if the Equinox is short on joie de drive, it has a good many other virtues. The Equinox's freshened exterior continues to be attractive among these compact boxes. The interior looks good, particularly in this fancy LTZ trim with its heated leather seats, navigation, upscale audio system, and contemporary infotainment tech, and it has acceptable fit and finish at this price point. Roominess is excellent and in line with the standards of this class. The seating is comfortable, and our measured interior noise levels are at or near best in class provided the driver refrains from demanding too much of the engine. That is, yes, there is the option of a 3.6-liter V6, one of the few still available in this class. With 301 horsepower and 272 pounds-feet of torque, it lends a lot more urgency to forward progress and increases towing capacity from 1,500 to 3,500 pounds. On the other hand, the V6 drags down fuel economy ratings, still an important consideration, even with cheap gas from 20 over 29 miles per gallon for the all-wheel drive 4-cylinder to 16 over 23 for the V6 with all-wheel drive. Also, the V6 is available only in the top 2 trim levels at $34,755. Our LTZ had just about everything but the V6. But you can bolt yourself into an Equinox for considerably less. The pricing ladder starts at $23,495 for a front-drive L model with this so-for banger. Memo to Chevrolet: swap the Equinox's 2.4 for the 2.0 turbo that propels the new Malibu. Perhaps that change will come with the next generation Equinox, which is expected to appear shortly.